Hi everyone, welcome to the May Creating Kindness Design Team blog and video hop. I'm Kitzelman and I live on the Sunshine Coast, Australia. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and my blog is With a Bow on Top by Lou. You'll find the address in the information with this video, and you can pop over there to find out more information about what I'm making today, as well as other things that I've been up to. So the theme for our May hop is techniques. I've been in a real embossing paste phase lately. And a few weeks ago I made these cards using the shimmery white embossing paste, which is white with glitter in it, and I've added some re-inker to get this ombre effect. I've had quite a few people ask me how I did it, so I thought for my projects today I'd show you something similar but extend the technique a little bit. So when I was making these, I used a pre-prepared mask or stencil from Stampin' Up!, which is really fun. It's from the Sweet Soiree decorative mask pack, and that's retiring, so make sure you get that before they all go. And I think it's a really great design element. And there's other masks or stencils that Stampin' Up! Has as well, but you're not limited to using pre-prepared masks. You should also make your own. This is a card that I made recently for another Creating Kindness Design Team blog hop. And I made a mask by punching a shape out of a piece of acetate or window sheet, using this tailored tag punch. And then I've just used the stencil to create different elements. And I love it because you can really mirror the other elements that you're using in the card, and it just sort of helps give you a more cohesive design. Isn't that silver beautiful? So today I'm going to make my own stencil again, but this time I'm going to use die cuts. So I'm using another set that's retiring. It's the You're So Sweet stamp set that comes with the mini treat bag, or coordinates with the mini treat bag thinlits. And I'm going to be using these strips here, the hearts and the stars, to make my stencil. So you can use these to cut out little shapes, or you can use them for a peek through element. So there's some of the shapes there, but I thought I'd use them for stencils today. So let's get set up. I'll just show you what things I like to use when I'm using embossing paste. So I've got my palette knives, I've got some paper towel, I've got just an old towel that I can use if I get really mucky, and I have a container that I use and I fill with water, because one of the really good advantages of embossing paste is that it dries really quickly on your projects. The downside is that it dries really quickly on your tools as well. So as soon as you're finished, pop it in the container with water, and then you can just let it soak, and then you can clean it once you've finished your working. And I always make sure I have a lid on my container. I won't tell you how many times I've spilt things because I'm a real klutz. And then for my work surface, I like to use the packaging that the Designer Series paper comes in. So it comes with a nice stiff board and a plastic cover, and I use these for all sorts of things, but particularly when I'm working on wet, messy things, because it's a really good size, but it's also really maneuverable. And once they get really mucky, you can just take the plastic off, and then you've got the cardboard to use. And you can also use both sides. So let's have a look at the first idea. So I've already die cut my stencil. For this I've cut it out of cardstock because I've got this idea on how I'm going to make a 2-for-1. Get 2 cards out of the one use of the embossing paste. So I've cut that out, and then I've just got a piece of Whisper White, and then I'm going to use my stencil. So I like to hold that in place so that it doesn't move, and what I like to use is this poster tack. It's just a repositionable tape, and it just means it sticks enough for you to do what you need to do, but it comes off really easily. So you just pop that on where you want it to go, and I also like to use some washi tape that's hanging around my desk, and this is just pieces I've used before, that just helps hold the bottom piece in. Then you just grab the embossing paste. I'm going to use the silver for this card. So you just need to give it a really good stir, and I always like to make sure that I don't have any bits hanging around the top, because those are the bits that are going to dry the quickest. Now the idea is that you want to smooth it enough but not too much, because the more you work the silver in particular, it can bleed a little bit. So I'm just going to get a bit of a dollop, and I'm just going to place it down like that, and then I'll just wipe my thing off, and then I'm just going to try and carefully spread it along. Gosh, it's a bit nerve-wracking doing it for a video. I'm fine when I'm doing it by myself, but I've got a bit of performance anxiety. Okay, so what I'm just doing is I'm just smoothing it, and my idea is that the top piece that's actually my stencil, I'm going to use to make a card as well. So I'm just going to pop the lid back on that straight away. Clean my palette knife. I'm just going to use paper towel for the moment, and then carefully lift off my stencil, and there we have two different design elements for your card. So now the silver takes a lot longer to dry, particularly in my climate. I live in a humid climate, so don't be tempted to rush it. Just let it'll just take as long as it takes, so probably about an hour. I'll just pop that to the side, and then well, actually no, sorry, I'll just leave it there, and I'll just show you the two cards that I made with it. So the two quantities, so here's one I prepared earlier. So the one, now I'm just going to try and do this and not get stuff on my card. So here's the stenciled bit, and then I've used it as a design element across the card, and then I've just used some other dies or thinlits that's from the same mini treat bag thinlet set, and some more elegant eggplant, and this is a Mother's Day card. So there's that one. And then for the bit that I used as my stencil, I've just used it as a panel, and I think that's quite a quick and easy way to get two cards for the effort of one. It's not really the price of one, the effort of one. And so I've just raised that there, and there'll be photos of this on my blog. I'm just trying really hard to limit the videos, because I do tend to talk quite a bit. So let's get on to the next card. So this time I've cut the hearts, and I'm just going to do the same thing, and this is, I'm going to show you the ombre effect. So pop that where you want it, probably about similar to where I had it before. Get some washi tape just to keep that down. I'll just do one corner. Now I'm going to colour this with some re-inkers. That's what you use to re-ink your ink pads when they are low on ink. So this is a shimmery white cardstock embossing paste. Now I'm just going to get some little dollops. I'm going to use 3 colours. Now this, you just need a bit of trial and error with something like this, because the colour doesn't always look the same as the ink pad when you add it to this white based embossing paste. So I've probably got a bit more than what I need there, but I just wanted to show you. So always make sure you're popping the lid back onto your embossing paste so that you keep the air out and it's good to use. So to add the re-inker, I always add the ink beside the dollop. So I've got powder pink. See, told you I was a klutz. Oh, now I've got a really nice glittery lid. Deal with that later. Peekaboo Peach, which is retiring. The idea about putting the ink on that side is that it's easier then to just add it bit by bit. And Sweet Sugar Plum, which is another retiring product. And then all you do is you just pick up a little bit of it. So the darker the colour, the less you need, obviously. And then you can just mix it to get the shade that you like. Now I like to not completely mix each one, so that also gives you a bit of variation in the colour. Might just pick a tiny bit. We might have gone a bit overboard there. There we go. Now I like to use a different palette knife for each colour at the start, so I keep the colours clean, and then when I go to do my use my stencil, I can just use one if I like. There we go. So not quite mixed. And let's do some of the powder pink. I'll probably need all of that. Looks like I'm going to need a bit more, so it's easier to add some rather than take it away. Otherwise you just end up adding too much embossing paste and it's a waste. But I've got some ideas on how to use your leftovers. There we go. Now I've got my thing all right. I am going to put another corner on there. Don't be lazy, Loop. There we go. Okay, now I'm just going to move this up a little bit so that you can see that a bit better. So I'm just going to pick up a bit of the powder pink and I'm just going to place it just like that, and I'll just give it a bit of a smooth. So this is a bit easier to use than the silver. It's got a bit more body, so I'll just do that. And I'll get some Peekaboo Peach. Just like that, and then we'll get some Sweet Sugar Plum. Okay, so now that I've got the colours on, I just need to do a bit of the blending. Okay, and so that's why you need the repositional tape underneath, so that you can really make sure it's got a good grip. Okay, so I'm going to start with the light end, and I'm just going to sort of move that backwards and forwards just to get not only a nice coverage of the hearts underneath, but also this is going to be another design element, this top part, for a different card. So I'm just trying to blend them a little bit, but not too much. And I don't know if you can really get the idea, see how I'm going, but it's actually quite easy to manipulate. Might just get that cat hair out of there. Okay, and then you just very carefully lift it up, and then you have two lovely design elements. And I've obviously just added a bit of a bit there. Whoops. Okay, now with the leftovers, you can use them to just smear on cardstock, or the card that I'm about to show you, I cut a heart out and I've just used it to make an ombre heart that I'll use on another project. So now let's have a look at the projects that I made using these two things. Now I had other ideas with this, but this is what I ended up coming up with. So here's my original piece, and then this is the card. I think it's really sweet. I'm hoping the colours will be coming up for you, but you'll be able to see on my blog. I'll have some pictures, but it's really pretty. Yeah, and so it's just a simple card with love, and I'll just show you on the side, and you can see how raised that is. It's really lovely. And then the other card that I've used with what was my stencil, or made with what was my stencil, so using this part, it just says love you. Once again using the mini treat bag, Thinlits and the You're So Sweet coordinating stamp set. So give those that technique a go. I'd love to hear what you think about it, and I'd love to see what you make with it. Make sure you look at the list of who's in the blog hop and click the next link and continue on, because everyone's got some really great techniques. Thanks everybody. See you next time. Bye.